Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a special edition of Sikich Live today. We're going to be finding out what's real or not when migrating from Dynamics NAV to Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, also known as D365 BC. We might call it BC throughout today's live. We're going to be playing a game today that we like to call Fact or Fiction. We're excited to bring this new format to you to add a little bit different spin on the lives that we're doing, and so excited to play this game today. But before, of course, I'd always like to remind you to like or subscribe so that you're getting notifications to this channel. We want to make sure that each Tuesday and Thursday when we go live, you're getting notifications so that you know when to come on to find out all the different things about ERP, IT managed services, security, CRM, and so much more. Don't be shy on Sikich Live. Like I always say, ask questions. We love your questions. We're happy to put those in there and get those answered by one of our professionals. If someone can't answer it on one of our lives, we'll find the answer for you at some point and get that to you as soon as possible. So I'm going to bring on Mike Lameau. Mike, thanks so much for being here today with us. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Mike?
Doing wonderful. Appreciate you having us back. Are you ready to play Fact or Fiction?
I am ready. I'm ready. I'm originally from Hollywood. That's the capital of Fact or Fiction.
There you go. That's right. That's right. Well, Ryan, let's roll that intro. Woo! Okay, Mike, let's start right away.
I'm ready.
Yeah, are you? Are you sure?
I'm ready.
So the first question, and this is regarding, all of these questions are regarding fact or fiction about moving from NAV, Dynamics NAV, to Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, Microsoft's fully cloud option. So first, fact or fiction. The process to migrate is going to be so expensive.
That is fiction, but I'll put a caveat on that, right? Like all things there, it's like it depends, right? So let's talk about what that depends on. It depends. Is your stuff heavily modified? Can you use it out of the box? Do you have people in your team that can help? That take some of that workload on. But Microsoft has provided all sorts of tools that assist with that migration, and Sikich itself has all sorts of procedures which aid in that. And there's things that we can do, like Head Start type of things that can really cut this cost down. And Mike, you were talking about that, some of the things we have in place that help somebody get started without spending a lot of money.
Yep, absolutely. Recently, I want to add to that. A couple weeks ago, we had Tim Tucker on, and we talked all about Head Start for construction.
Yeah,
so that's one BC, kind of an accelerator type product that we call Head Start at Sikich, that really gets people off and running for a reasonable price.
That's a great idea. And the whole concept of an accelerator is, look, for particular industries or situations, we know that you're going to want certain things configured the same way. Everybody does. And if you take that core set and make that assumption, we don't have to spend weeks getting that figured out and all that kind of thing. So it literally is an accelerator in terms of time, and it's a decelerator in terms of money. So those two things together work very well.
Awesome. Apologize for this light that's going over my face. Not sure if you're seeing it.
It's a bright light.
Trying to dodge it right now. Okay, fact or fiction, Mike. Migrations to the cloud are fraught with problems.
That's fiction too. So Microsoft has given a lot of tools, as you can imagine. They have a vested interest in people going from the NAV to BC, because the functions work basically the same, but your data's got to get there in a different structure. So there's tools provided, and the migration to the cloud in Azure and that type of stuff, they've really made it easy to move that data. So that used to be something that was a concern to people originally, but no, it's actually worked out pretty well.
Okay. Cloud ERP is inherently less secure than on-premise ERP software. Fact or fiction?
That is definitely fiction, and I can tell you why. We have several customers that we've taken on that maybe someone else implemented NAV or their own team did it, and they're an on-premise server. and they've been hit by ransomware attacks. Okay. And it's not the security we put in. It's not something we're managing. There's no way they could put in the types of systems or it'd be too cost prohibitive that Microsoft has. You can imagine the safety protocols and security protocols that Microsoft has invested in, because if there's a breach in their system, they have a lot to lose as a company. So the security standards and that stuff, you can find all that stuff, the Microsoft Trust Center and all these things that you couldn't spend enough to get the security that you get through Microsoft.
Absolutely. Microsoft's invested billions into
so
cloud,
much more.
So much money that no company could ever replicate that type of security.
No.
Mm-hmm. And the backup to that security.
That's exactly, that's a really good point. It's it's not just how secure your data is and getting into it, but what if something goes wrong and how fast can you get back up and running? The cloud is a computer somewhere else. That's really what the cloud is. And in Microsoft's thing, there's layers of things around it that protect it and give access to it quickly and all that kind of things. But for instance, it does something like it can do a backup automatically in another part of the country, in a data center somewhere else. So if a hurricane hits and wipes out a Microsoft server farm somewhere with all your stuff, there's a backup already in 2 other places that can be spun up in just minutes to get you back up and running. So once again, what would that cost you to do yourself? You do a backup and you drive home and put it in the fireproof safe. It's a good point. Data recovery and data restoration is a big part of that.
Absolutely. So last one, dealing with the cloud here. There are reasons not to go to the cloud.
That actually is a fact. And I'll tell you why. The main limitation of that is if you're someplace that doesn't have good internet. That's a main case. We do a lot of agriculture customers and people that are in areas, maybe some nations that don't quite have that infrastructure. If their whole application is up in the cloud, if they lose internet, they can't do anything. So there are some industries that, due to compliance and certain things like that, they really are required to have that stuff on site. So there are some situations where it does make more sense to do it. In the whole, though, with the ability to get inexpensive, redundant internet providers, that if one goes down, there's another one, the availability of fiber, all these things, the majority of our customers go to cloud and you can't tell the difference. But yeah, there are some situations, but it does make sense.
Yeah. And any partner that you work with for a migration from NAV to BC, they should talk with you about that first thing, as far as when you're first assessing that. So whether it's with us or anyone, those are things that we'll dive into to find out.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, let's get back into fact or fiction. Most companies can handle the migration themselves. Yeah, it's fine.
Wow, that one just threw me back for a bit, because that's definitely fiction. The reason why they don't handle it themselves is, one, most customers don't really know the underpinnings of the database underneath it. You've heard of SQL and different things like that. They just don't really know how to get that data out of it. Because remember, when you're moving data from one system to another, there's a couple steps. One is you have to get the right data out, and then 2, you have to know what it's going to go into. Like what that format, what does it map to? Because you might be using different fields and different names and different things in that. So it's not a one-to-one map. And there's a middle step about cleaning up that data, because you don't want garbage to go in to the new system. So we definitely can help, and not just us, but all partners can use the Microsoft tools that help with that data migration, master data, customers, vendors, items, that type of thing. And we can get, any good partner can get you in a position where you can easily export your data and clean it up and bring it in a couple iterations to make sure it's okay. But yeah, I think it's more of a collaborative effort, Michael, that it's not really just the partner, not just the customer. It really is a collaborative effort on that data migration piece.
And the partner a lot of companies that run in-house migrations or implementations and things might have a small team of individuals that work on that. And with working with a partner, you've got sometimes 30, 40, hundreds of people, all different types of expertise that can be really valuable. Maybe things that you just didn't No.
No, it's fair. And now we have customers that have NAV experts on staff, and they want to do it themselves. So we'll provide guidance. And like you said, we might just come in if they run into a bump in those situations. But those are pretty skilled people they have on staff that can manage that.
Yeah. I got a lot of sun coming through this window.
You're illuminating.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, another factor fiction. The accounting for on-prem ERP is the same as cloud ERP.
Wow, that's fiction. So there, when you say it's the same, I guess we should ask you to define that. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call on the other line, and I've got to hang up on them. but like when you ask a question like that, what do you have in mind, Mike, when you're asking that?
So basically, the chart of accounts, accounting functions, and modules are different in the cloud.
Oh, okay. So this is actually something that Microsoft did very, very cleverly on this. When it's coming to NAV to BC, they're the same. So this one is actually a fact that it's the same. And this is actually genius about what they did. They said, look, if you're used to sales orders and purchase orders and the way you add customers and vendors, let's make those functions the same, but let's change the underpinnings, make it upgradable and easy to do modifications in that thing. And that's been the change, is that they were smart. They left the functions the same and they added some functions, for machine learning, artificial intelligence. But yeah, if you know NAV, you can get around in BC very well. Okay.
Another factor fiction, D365 BC is a stopgap for D365 F&O.
Now that is definitely fiction. There are definitely different markets for those two products, and that's why they exist. They've got different implementation costs. They've got different cases where they work. F&O, which they keep changing the name. It used to be called Exapta, AX. Finance and operations, finance and supply chain. It gets different names, but it's basically Microsoft's tier one product. And in a situation where you've got, multi-country manufacturing and different requirements, and you're complex and you need the processing power of that, then it makes sense. And we've got a lot of customers, a lot of partners. The solution does very well. But if you're using NAV now, BC is probably the most logical candidate to go to, not the tier one solution. The functions work the same as we just discussed, and it's probably the budgetary range of what you're kind of used to in terms of implementation, and that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, and I think there's an interesting discovery there to assess, hey, how has your business grown? How has it scaled and grown with the NAV that you've already had?
Right,
and that can kind of tell us, okay, yeah, that scalability will work with BC.
Right.
And, but perhaps we make an assessment and say, hey, there's a lot more that you need that we're discovering in that type of discovery phase.
Yeah, we've got customers that have hundreds of users on Business Central. So it's not a limitation just because of that quantity of users. It just was the right fit for them. So as Michael said, what's really important is that you look at what's going on with your business, where you see it going. Are the business processes change? As your business change, your end customers, technology, the kind of market that you're doing, that's come to play. We've taken some customers from NAV all the way to the tier one F&O product, but in most cases, NAV to BC probably makes sense.
Okay, let's do another factor fiction here. There are certain industries that thrive on BC.
That is true. That is fact. There's certain distribution in general and your straight discrete manufacturing do really well on Business Central. Out of the box with hardly any modifications, you can do so much with the out of the box solution. They've got jobs in there, manufacturing, like I said, inventory, supply chain, distribution chunks in there, even somewhat of a contact management and relationship management built in. All those things are built in out of the box, and you can be up and running with very little mods and fit those things. So yeah, there are definitely industries that do really well in there. Services business seem to do well. Like I said, manufacturing, distribution. Yeah, that is definitely fact. There's things that this is a perfect fit for.
Absolutely. Okay, another factor fiction. This is a popular one to answer for sure. Upgrading BC is such a hassle.
So that is definitely fiction. And that is actually the reason why we have a different product. And in the short version is this. If you were on an older version of NAV, or you still are, you know what it costs to upgrade. And in fact, it may have been why you didn't. In some cases, Michael, we were hearing that people spend as much on their upgrade as they did the original implementation. And that's not right, And it's because of the way that you had to make modifications in the old NAV. It just wasn't sustainable for a true cloud system. A true cloud system has to be kind of closer to your iPhone or your Android, where you have the base solution and you put on an app, and when it upgrades, you don't really notice much. I mean, sometimes there's problems, you have to fix it and that kind of stuff, but it should be almost as automatic as possible. So what Microsoft has done now is, if you follow the protocols for modifying and for setting up Business Central correctly, Microsoft provides tools that let you automatically test that automatically when a new upgrade version comes out, tell you if there's anything that's off, you fix that, and you can update it. And it is, if this was NAV, this is what it is for BC. Yeah. It's hugely different. And they're making more updates. There's monthly updates, and there's 2 major releases a year. You couldn't do that the old way in NAV. So yeah, this is one of our most exciting things to work with, is how easy it is to upgrade BC now.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, Microsoft has for any third parties that you add on, independent software vendors, Microsoft has AppSource, right? So that is a great place to get your applications from, so that you're not seeing any of those upgrade issues when the automatic upgrades go out.
Yeah, it's a great point. Any of you guys that use those third-party NAV solutions in the past, sometimes you couldn't upgrade because that ISV did not upgrade to the latest version that Microsoft was at, or it took a sweet time, and you had to find the lowest common denominator of all your ISVs of what you could upgrade to. So now with the app source that Michael was talking about, every ISV that gets certified for that signs an agreement that within 90 days of a Microsoft release, they will be compatible with that version. They have to do that. So, which is wonderful. It means that you will always be able to upgrade and take advantage of those things when they come out. And that's a big change. And like you said, it's an app store. It's like your iPhone. You can just add it to your solution without having to merge it in and all that complexity that you need a developer to do. So they've really taken a lot of that worry away from people.
Yep. Okay, this is the last fact or fiction, Mike. And I think we've definitely answered this a little bit. So hopefully the audience knows if this is fact or fiction. NAV and BC are virtually the same system.
Oh, that's really an interesting question. So I would say fact, in terms of it's the same system in terms of the functionality and that kind of a thing. The fiction part is the fact that the interface is a little bit different. It's meant to work on a web browser or a mobile phone. And the old version of NAV people use on your laptops like we're using now to talk to you, and in the most case. And so it's got a different look and feel. It looks more like a modern office application with dashboards and icons and things, and the way we're used to doing it. So it looks different. And then, as we mentioned, the underpinnings are different that are behind the scenes that most users don't care about, but the IT guys care about, and the CFO cares about when he's writing a check for upgrade, is that the things that are done underneath it make that you can upgrade it, because Microsoft's releasing hundreds of improvements and added features every 6 months. And you want to be able to take advantage of that, which means you need something that you can upgrade that is worry-free. So yeah, so that one's a little fact and fiction, but it's mostly fact.
Great. Well, Mike, that is all the fact or fiction topics I have for you today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Wonderful. It's great, and I love
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Mike. Of course, as I always say, make sure to like and subscribe so that you're getting all of the news notifications when we go live each Tuesday and Thursday. We've also got a lot of great things on our LinkedIn page and Facebook page as far as blogs, posts, other type of media to check out about moving from Dynamics NAV to Microsoft Dynamics 365 BC. Well, thanks so much for being with us today, and we will see you next time. Bye.